You lock your front door, you check the deadbolt, you close your bedroom window, and draw the curtains. You might even leave a nightlight on in the hallway. In the modern world, the act of falling asleep is surrounded by layers of security. You trust that the walls around you will keep you safe. You trust that the latch on the door will hold. You close your eyes, and you surrender to unconsciousness for 8 hours. But here is a disorienting fact. For 99.9% of human existence, there were no doors. There were no locks. There were no window panes. There were only open landscapes, dark caves, and the sounds of the wilderness. Every night, our ancestors lay down on the ground, vulnerable to everything that moved in the dark. And yet, they slept. They slept deeply enough to heal. They slept long enough to dream. They slept through the night while predators with eyes adapted to the dark stalked the perimeter. So how did they do it? How did a creature as fragile and slow as a human ever manage to close its eyes without becoming a meal for a leopard, a hyena, or a snake? The answer is not simple. It is not a single invention. It is a layered strategy of engineering, chemistry, and profound social cooperation, and it begins with the ground beneath their bodies. In the Sibudu Cave in South Africa, archaeologists have uncovered the oldest known sleeping mats in the world. The site dates back 77,000 years, and it contains layer upon layer of flattened plant material. These were not just piles of leaves. These were carefully constructed beds made from sedge grass and rushes, but the most remarkable detail emerged when researchers analyzed the chemical residue left in the ancient layers. They found compounds like camphor and other aromatic essential oils. These were not accidental inclusions. The specific plants selected for the bedding were natural insecticides. The people sleeping in Sibudu Cave were not just making a soft surface. They were making a chemical barrier. They were laying down a mattress that repelled mosquitoes, ticks, and fleas. This is significant. Infectious diseases carried by insects were perhaps the greatest daily threat to ancient humans, even greater than large predators. Malaria alone can cripple a hunter-gatherer population. By lining their beds with these repellent plants, these early Homo sapiens reduced their risk of fever and disease by a measurable margin. In 2011, the archaeologist Lynn Wadley published a detailed study on these plant layers, demonstrating that this was deliberate, learned behavior passed down through generations. But insect repellent does not stop a leopard. A leopard does not care about camphor. The second layer of defense was far more primal, the collective. Humans are not solitary sleepers. Modern studies of the Hadza people in Tanzania, a hunter-gatherer society living today, reveal something crucial. The Hadza do not sleep in isolated family units. They cluster. They sleep in groups of 20 or more, arranged in a tight ring around a central fire. A 2015 study by evolutionary anthropologist David Sampson at Duke University analyzed the sleep patterns of the Hadza. He found that they rarely sleep alone. The spacing of their huts is dense. In the open, individuals sleep side by side, creating a perimeter of waking ears and eyes. Even while one person sleeps, another stirs. This is not a system of sentries. There is no guard shift. It is simply the mathematics of risk. A lone human in the dark has a high chance of being targeted. A group of 15 humans lying together, breathing together, creates a collective awareness. A flicker of movement, a crack of a twig, triggers a cascade of alertness across the group. Sampson's research also revealed a deeper biological twist. Humans have significantly shorter sleep cycles and achieve REM sleep faster than our closest primate relatives, chimpanzees. Chimpanzees sleep in trees, building nests to stay safe from ground predators. Because they are vulnerable, they sleep lightly and wake often. Humans, on the other hand, have a paradoxical depth of sleep. We crash quickly into deep, restorative states. The reason, Sampson argues, is safety in numbers. We were able to evolve deeper sleep because we slept in groups that provided mutual protection. Your ability to dream, to process memories, to restore your brain every night is a biological gift that was only possible because your ancestors trusted the bodies around them. But that trust had its limits. A group of sleeping humans around a fire is still a target for a pack of hyenas or an ambush predator. The ring of fire works as a barrier, but fire itself requires constant feeding. And so our ancestors made a strategic choice about where they slept. They made a strategic choice about location. You might assume caves were the obvious choice, a secure fortress of stone, but caves were also homes for cave bears, hyenas, and leopards. The archaeological record shows that humans often shared these spaces with predators, alternating occupancy. At the Grandolina site in Atapuerca, Spain, dating back 800,000 years, Researchers have found layers of human habitation directly alternating with layers containing bear bones and carnivore tooth marks. The humans were not evicting the bears. They were timing their occupancy. They were moving in when the predators were absent, using the space for a few weeks, then leaving before the bears returned. This required knowledge. It required tracking the seasonal movements of large carnivores. It required knowing with precision when a cave was safe and when it was a death trap. This was not instinct. This was accumulated intelligence passed down through oral tradition. But even in a safe cave, the threat remained. A leopard can climb, a snake can slither. The most effective barrier between a sleeping human and a predator was fire. But fire is not a static object. It requires fuel. It requires attention. At the Kesem cave site in Israel, dated to 400,000 years ago, archaeologists found evidence of continuous, controlled hearths in the center of the cave floor. These were not campfires built for cooking alone. They were central fires, maintained throughout the night. The spatial organization of the site reveals that sleeping areas were arranged around the fire, with the youngest and most vulnerable individuals placed closest to the flames and the adults on the outer edges. This arrangement is not arbitrary. In 2017, a study by anthropologists at the University of Utah analyzed the spatial dynamics of modern hunter-gatherer camps. They found a consistent pattern. The perimeter of the sleeping circle is occupied by the most experienced adults, the ones with the sharpest senses and the fastest reaction times. The center is reserved for children and elders. This is not a hierarchy, it is a defense. The adult is a living wall. Their body is placed between the sleeping child and the darkness. But the most shocking discovery about ancient sleep comes from a different angle. In 2016, a team of scientists led by David Sampson published a comparative study of sleep duration across primates. They found that humans sleep significantly less than chimpanzees or baboons, yet our sleep is more efficient. We spend a higher percentage of our time in REM sleep, the stage associated with memory consolidation and emotional processing. This efficiency, Sampson argues, was enabled by the safety of the group. Because our ancestors slept in tight, protected circles, they could descend into vulnerable REM sleep without risking predation. Your brain, tonight, will cycle through dreams and deep rest at a rate that would be lethal for a solitary ape. But there was a third layer of protection, a physical one, that we have yet to mention. The oldest known evidence of constructed sleeping barriers outside of caves dates back 23,000 years to the site of Dolní Věstonice in the Czech Republic. Here, early modern humans built huts from mammoth bones. They arranged the massive skulls and tusks into a framework, then covered them with hides and sod. These were not permanent houses. They were temporary shelters used during seasonal hunts. But they had an entrance, a narrow passage that could be blocked. They had walls that could stop a predator from entering. They had a roof. For the first time in human history, an individual could lie down and be completely hidden from the eyes of a hunter. The walls did not just block the wind, they blocked the gaze. They created a private space where the body could be fully vulnerable. This was the precursor to your bedroom. The mammoth bone hut was the first lock on the door. Tonight, you will pull the blanket to your chin. You will close your eyes. You will trust that the walls around you hold, that the door is shut, that no creature stalks the hallway. You have never met the people who built the first sleeping mats in Sibudu Cave. You have never stood beside a Neanderthal in Shanidar, arranging a bed of insect-repelling grass. But you are living the same ritual. The flicker of the nightlight in your hallway is the echo of a hearth fire in a cave 400,000 years ago. The deadbolt on your door is the mammoth bone wedged against the entrance of a frozen hut. You are not just sleeping. You are reenacting an ancient bargain. You are trusting the collective. You are trusting the walls. You are trusting the fire, even if that fire is now just a small red light on a circuit board. And in that trust, you descend into the dark, into the deep sleep that only a species that learned to protect each other has earned. That is not a modern convenience. That is a lineage. That is the sound of a million ancestors, breathing in the dark, keeping watch so that you could dream,